At this point, it's not looking good near Bastogne, and your commanding officer says if you don't have ammo for a gun, destroy it. And you destroyed the gun, so it wasn't looking good.
Well, most of us didn't destroy the gun because we didn't think too much of his theory. We figured we'd find something to use that gun with. If we lost the gun, we helped with a stupid 45.
So at this point, it didn't look good for the Americans. At this point, it didn't.
Well, that's the way the war goes. It goes good.
So then what changed?
Bad.
Tell me how it changed.
Huh?
How did it change in your favor? Right now, it's not looking good for the Americans. How did it change in your favor?
How do you what?
How did it change to the Americans' favor? What took place?
Well, they brought in more supplies. They brought 2 airborne officers in. They dropped 3 strikes of airborne officers. And that's over 1,000 men with weapons and everything.
Were they all paratroopers?
All paratroopers. Well, the first.
Did a lot of them get shot down in the sky?
Huh?
Did a lot of them get shot down in the sky?
Oh yeah, the Germans would shoot everything they could get.
So, what else? What else took place to turn this thing around in your favor? How long did it take?
The Americans were bringing more equipment in the RAF and the U.S. Air Force was bombing the stuff in Germany. They couldn't. They were running out of supplies. And
so
that was a big thing. We weren't winning the war by us. The RAF, the American Air Force, was bombing factories in Germany.
So I'm just saying, correct me if I'm wrong. So it's not looking good for you, but then the paratroopers came in, a lot more equipment came in, and the Germans were losing ground now because their equipment.
Yeah, they didn't have the equipment, so they all went back home.
And so how long did it take before the Americans ran the Germans out?
About a week. The Germans knew what was coming off. They knew that they were stuck. They knew the Americans would bring all that stuff in. They're going to bring 2 strike force of airborne in. Now, who's this?
Tim. He's the guy who was talking about you.
That's Tim?
Yeah. So, uh-oh, she's coming up again. She's coming up again.
Who? Who?
Claire.
She coming back?
She's walking around down there now, waving.
Yeah.
Hi. See ya. And so that was very interesting. So about a week, things turned with the Americans in control.
Yeah, then the Germans were in control. It all depends who had the supplies and the equipment.
All right, let me keep reading and I'll ask questions. I told the squad that we're strictly on our own and that we must stay close to one another when we pulled out. There was also room, we had to scrounge for water for our canteens and we'd meet near the church in 20 minutes.
Well, we stopped at a castle, there was a pool there, and we were all thirsty. So we took the water, but we had Hazle tablets to disinfect that germs in that water, and we all drank it.
You did drink it?
Oh, yeah.
Did you had tablets to put in there?
You
put tablets to disinfect
yeah, Hazle tablets, yeah, to kill the germs in that water.
Did you think it might have been poisoned water?
The what?
Did you think it might have been, the water might have been poisoned?
Well, you didn't have a drink, your mouth was dry.
It was 50-50, right?
Huh?
It was 50-50 and you took the chance. It could have been poison or it could not have been
Well,
poison.
we took the tablets, and then the medics tested the water. They said it was half-assed, but it was clear. Well, the natives that were drinking that damn water.
Did anyone get sick from the water?
I think they got sick. Obviously, they got sick with the water. They got sick of fooling around fighting and all that shit. Excuse me, all that stuff.
I pulled the breech and jerked out the firing mechanism and bent the fowling pin, flung it as far as I could into the deep snow. The rest of the receiver I emptied on the water and banged it several times with my rifle butt. The tripod was bent out of shape and one of the legs was completely at a 90-degree angle.
Now see, that was a bad mistake because they didn't have nothing to fight with now.
Yeah.
That's what I had was the trench knife and the stupid knife. That was a bad mistake.
In exactly 20 minutes, Leip and I were at the church waiting for the rest of the squad to show up. Already advanced elements of German paratroopers were entering the town, their blue uniforms showing through their white camouflage jumpsuits.
Those German paratroopers were rough. They were rough. They didn't screw around.
They were a highly trained bunch of fighters?
Huh?
Were they a highly trained bunch of fighters?
Oh yeah, Germans trained those guys. They were the elite corps.
So they were elite above any infantrymen.
Oh yeah.
Were they above the SS?
No, SS was a separate division. That was all separate.
Did the SS fight in this war?
Indirectly, yeah. They go out and find out some leaky thing or some.
So SS wasn't basically an infantry group.
They weren't out in the field shooting one another like the Air Force.
They were more like intelligence group.
They were intelligent, find out where the enemy is, what they got doing.
Would you say the paratroopers, the Nazi paratroopers, were the best fighters that the Germans had?
And the same thing with us. The paratroopers are the best fighters. They were better trained.
Why do you think that?
They were better trained.
How do you think it is today?
In other words, if you got to get an airborne, you got to be screened, psychologically and medically.
How do you think the paratroopers are today?
But top stuff. Elite corps.
So the German paratroopers were a great fighter.
Oh
They
yeah,
took it
yeah.
very seriously.
Don't deprive the Germans of being a fighter. The hell's he doing over there? They were good fighters.
They were good fighters.
And then when they got to Germany, they were better. They're worse because they fight for their homeland. Oh, they're going. They're shutting everything down.
No equipment, no ammo, they're done.
No.
No equipment, no ammo, they're done. How do you think the German paratroopers were such an elite group they took after the war they lost?
After the war?
After they lost. How do you think they were?
German paratroopers?
Yeah.
Well, they said they lost.
That was
They
it?
lost their comrades. They probably lost an arm, a shoulder, or blind, or whatever.
Did the German army still stay together after they lost the war? Was there an army, such thing of a German army?
Oh yeah, it was a unit, yeah.
And then,
They kept pulling back.
I told the squad we're strictly on our own. In about 20 minutes, Leip and I went to the church. I noticed advanced elements of German paratroopers were entering the town, their blue uniforms showing through the white stripe. How old were most of the paratroopers?
How old?
Yeah.
19, 20 years old.
So everyone's young.
Huh?
Everyone's young.
Yeah.
Leip and I had just missed running into them as we returned to our rendezvous at the church. They were all young, eager for battle, and all profoundly in a state of euphoria over their
33, there were 33. 19 are ready to go.
into the recent victories and their latest offensive. They were ordered to bypass Wolds and drive west, but these young, headstrong paratroopers made up their minds to make a personal raid on Wolds for their booty.
Yeah.
So the paratroopers were told to pass Wolds, but they just thought they'd go through it anyways.
Yeah.
Our break came when they were supposed to surprise a couple of American jeeps racing through the town, heading for Bastogne. The paratroopers picked up their rifles and machine pistols. The paratroopers picked up rifles and machine pistols and fired at the jeeps, running the gauntlet. We hurried to the church where the rest of the squad was waiting for us, fearing that we had got caught in a firefight down the street. Artificial moonlight, Germans had brought up a large floodlights powered by portable generators. I didn't know that.
Right.
So the Germans brought in powerful generators to have lights shining on
Radio? Sure.
No, lights shining on the town.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So they're in pretty much control now by doing that.
Yeah. They were pretty well equipped.
Germans had brought up large floodlights powered by portable generators, now flooded most of the eastern and northern approaches to the town. Our best chance of escape lay in the southern approach away from Bastogne. I figured we would have a better chance by going away from it, rather than jamming our way into it. We could have been of no use there since we had no gun or ammo, and we did not relish being captured or killed as the SS did at Malmedy. It was almost 2,400 hours, and the shells were exploding in the streets of Wolves. We could see the bright flashes that made them burst. We were in the woody area surrounded by the large evergreen trees. I was trying to get my bearings so as not to be headed in the wrong direction. We traveled about a mile from Wolves and proceeding cautiously as we did not want to run into any more paratroopers, or worse yet, a Panzer unit company or battalion strength advancing towards Bastogne. So if you would have ran into a battalion, you would have been done. If you would have ran into a German battalion head on, and you was only like 10 of you guys, that would have been it.
Well,
What do
you
you
can always improvise. But if you throw your weapons around, you're screwed.
The men were exhausted from wading through the waist-high snow. Luckily, the wind had died down. It did not seem quite as cold as other nights. My feet were soaking wet. As I changed my socks, we rested. I tried to think of my best possible way of outflanking the onrushing Germans. It would soon be daylight, and I let the squad rest until then. We would push, or until we were hooked up with another American outfit. I set up a makeshift guard rester with 2 men on at all times, and was soon sound asleep, curled into a blanket. I had liberated several weeks ago. The guard on duty woke me up, and I sat up and looked at my watch. It was 4:30 hours. Soon it'd be light. I turned to the guard and told him to get some sleep. I had taken the remainder of the watch. I sat up, huddled in my blanket, staring bleary-eyed at the woods. I knew we could not stay here. I certainly did not want to get captured. The thought of the ordeal convinced me that the only thing to do was push on, hoping we would think up. I desperately wanted to brush my teeth. Even in a military fight, you want to brush your teeth, I'll be damned. As they felt like they were coated with sand. I thought better of it, and I would awfully be foolish with a toothbrush in my hand and a German soldier glaring over me with a machine pistol. Oh, you're funny. I was thankful no one in the squad was a heavy snorer. I did not know what I have done if they had been. It was snowing lightly, and our sleeping bodies were all covered with fine white film. I was rubbing my feet together, trying to get the blood circulating again. And I kept checking for frostbite, but I was fortunate in the respect I was not that cold. Huddled up in a GI woolen blanket. I guess it gets acclimated to the weather after a while. As I sat there, rubbing my feet, looking about, but mostly listening, I thought of many things. I thought of Fink and the time we were at the dance when he wanted Jean and me to accompany him to his friend in a personal pub. I felt bad how we had not. We refused him, and I wondered what his friend was doing now. She would never know what happened to him. It all seemed like a million years ago. I thought of Jean and how she looked the night of the dance and how proud I was to have escorted her. I wondered what they were doing at this exact moment. I thought of Anne and our last weekend together and how I messed up considerably by not knowing my true feelings about her. How some things were much clearer now and there ever were before. I would have done some things differently from what I have done at the time, and I wondered in retrospect how she put up with my immature behavior, and I also about how have her forgotten and replaced me with someone more mature and inner-directed. Just then I heard a twig snap, and I quickly flattened on my stomach, clutching my M1 as I took the safety off. I was hoping the rest of the squad had sense enough to lie still and not jump up. Sure enough, it was a segment of the same parachute division, the 5th, on their way to Wiltz. They must have gotten lost and veered off southerly direction. There were 20 to 25 of them, a short distance from where we were resting. I held my breath as they passed, and they were far enough to our right so they could not see our forms lying in the snow. Had they been another 20 feet closer, they would have scrambled us. They would have stumbled over us. I still, as the last of them passed, I did not move until I was sure that there were none of them behind us. I got up quickly and gathered the men and had them move out. Most of them heard that the Germans are holding their breath until they were gone. As the paratroopers came from the east, I decided our best bet was to head west, away from their line of march. We silently departed the area, crouching as we did so as not to make the least possible target and movement. It was getting lighter by the minute, and I was hoping that we would come upon our units. As we trudged through the snow, I kept looking for fresh tracks before the falling snow covered them. I knew they were leaving a trail, but could not be helped. We must have covered several miles since our encounter with the paratroopers. We still were going west, and I was sure we could come up with one of our units. The snow had stopped, but it was still bitterly cold. Gray winter day, we stopped for a break. As usual, there were no open fires. Despite our wet clothes and cold bodies, we ate K rations for breakfast, and I had a couple swallow waters from our canteen. About 20 minutes we pushed on, still heading west. We came upon a clearing and stopped for a short of it, and we could determine what was ahead. I told everyone to stay put and lie low until I returned. I then headed for the tree line circled around the clearing to see what was on the back side of it, thinking there might be a roadblock in this facility manned by a heavy .30 or machine pistols. I cautiously maneuvered around the clearing as I peered through the high hedges. I saw what appeared to be a small village nestled in a grove of pine trees, with a clearing into the front. Getting closer, I still could not determine who was occupying it. This might be the break we were hoping for, to find a friendly American unit, of course, and finally get the clothes and some hot chow and a warm place to get some needed sleep. Maybe it was too much to ask for. As I got closer, I could hear some movement and whirling of a generator of some kind. I crept closer and made out several white stars on the doors of military vehicles. The glimmer of hope stirred with me. Perhaps we got lucky. I got closer to make out the unit designation on the bumper of one of its vehicles. It read 447 AAA. It was an aircraft battery. The next obvious question were they captured vehicles or were they Americans? I saw no personnel about, and I lay low for a while, waiting for someone to come by. I did not have a long wait. Two soldiers approached a jeep. As they came closer, they looked American. I waited to hear one of them speak. Suddenly, one of them spoke up. "Hell, we gotta move on. This makes the 5th time in many days." I got up and walked toward them, grinning from ear to ear. They stopped short in their tracks and aimed my carbines at me. I raised my arms and muttered, "Take it easy. We're dry-eyed and lost and hungry." One of them said, "Prove it." I showed him my dog tags and told him that we come from Wiltz. Both of them explained that Wiltz has been taken by Germans several days ago. I replied, "Yes, we know," and were told to evacuate at that time. They felt confident I was not a German and invited me to their makeshift mess hall. I told them I had a squad of hungry GIs out in the woods and asked them if it was okay to bring them in. They said it was okay and to bring them in. Well, I told them the squad we had come upon the American outfit. They were jubilant and relieved. We must have looked like a tattered bunch of GIs, but they seemed accustomed as the late to seeing American soldiers reaching their lines in the conditions we presented. The CO and Major came over as we were eating our first hot meal in several weeks and wanted to know more about Wiltz. I know all I knew and experienced, and seemed to satisfy him.
Were they intense there?
Yeah.
They were intense?
You weren't intense at Wiltz,
What?
right? No. That's what
What?
Okay.
you weren't intense in Wiltz, right?
Tents?
You didn't have tents on the, you were in foxholes, right? When
Yeah.
you were fighting, you didn't fight in tents.
Tents?
Yeah,
Tents.
but the
No, we
squad,
didn't fight in tents.
no.
Foxholes.
Foxhole, or you break
Where were
a
they
couple,
going to? What
chop
were
a couple of trees down and build something up more solid.
He did mention they were pulling out of here and they were low on ammunition. He also said he'd try to get in touch with our outfit and find out our orders. I told him we appreciated the hot meal, extra clothing, and socks. He smiled, patted me on the back, and told me to take care. I found out some of the villages we're in. It was called Holdingen, roughly 15 miles southeast of Wiltz. As we gathered up our equipment, we were still without our crew weapon. I thought just as well, it'd only slow us down. A sergeant came up and relayed a message from a CO. We were to hitch a ride with them and go as far as Holstham and then wait for transportation. If there's none available, our division was forming along the Orth River, some 20 to 35 miles north of here. I was not too keen about riding in open trucks with all the Germans all around us, as especially the convoy of this size. I had seen too many motor convoys torn apart by mortar and machine gun. I told the squad that the first opportunity to have, we would ditch the convoy and go out on our own again. We could attach ourselves to another unit and still stay in fight. They agreed. As we boarded the 6x6s and took our position to the rear of the trucks. At the outpost southeast of the crossroads, we passed small arms fire.
Jen, go check our house, see if there's anybody there.
Okay.
Those two women are probably coming in.
Oh, no. Okay.
I told them the first opportunity we had, we'd ditch the unit convoy. At the outpost southeast of the crossroads, we had passed small arms,
Shit.
we had passed small arms, fire broke out, and some of the fleeing soldiers shouted out that there were German paratroopers all over, just looking for a fight. I told the squad to get ready, that we'd be leaving shortly. They checked their weapons in the preparation for our departure. The fight at the crossroads was intensifying with paratroopers firing their burp guns and machine pistols. The concentration of fire was spirited and powerful as it swept the men off the 6x6s and into ditches on each side of the road. As we landed in the ditch, there were paratroopers coming up the draw. I opened up with my M1 and two paratroopers, 20 yards, staggered, and then dropped in deep in the snow. Lape was firing his .45, but was not hitting anything. Some of the men we hit, I could see two of them go down with severe head injuries. I motioned for the rest of the squad to get out of the ditches and go into the woods. I saw a major of AAA outfit took a direct hit to the face, and he went down, covered in snow and bright red. I slipped and slid up one of the embankments, which was sheer ice. I came to the crest, and there was a young paratrooper grinning at me. His machine pistol aimed menacingly at me. I was caught flat-footed. No way would I have time enough to bring my rifle up to fire at him. I could feel the rounds from his machine gun pistol shattering my flesh, and a cringe I thought of it. He quickly dropped his machine pistol to his side, motioned me in the woods, and I thought, hell, I am captured. I am a PW. I turned to look back. He was gone, confused and very much relieved. I ran into the woods. Lape and what was left of the squad were in the tree line. They had seen what happened at the embankment. They told me they thought I was a goner and I thought at least a prisoner. They said the paratrooper just turned and went to rejoin his outfit without ever looking back. I collected my thoughts. I put another clip into my chamber of my M1 and I told the squad to hightail it. We had just started to clear the area and two paratroopers came out of nowheres and we were bearing down on Lape and me. I tried frantically to drive the bolt home. It was just jammed with snow and ice. As they came closer, still not firing, I heard a rapid succession of shots. Both paratroopers fell to the snow, mortally wounded. The firing came from two members of the squad. Likely they had spotted the paratroopers bearing down on us and opened fire. I waved in appreciation and was thankful for they were around.
That was a close call.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
Yeah,
if you can give me a pen,
yeah,
shut that off.
okay.